Hello there, and welcome to the first episode of the East London Sport Podcast. My name is Freddie. I've got Mo with me too. Mo, how are you doing?
I'm incredibly excited, Freddie, is how I am today. So yeah, buzzing to be here.
Yeah, no, same. More importantly, though, we have three high-performance athletes from UEL with us today. First of all, we have Daniel, who, alongside playing for West Ham Academy, has launched his own podcast. Daniel, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm very good, thank you. Thanks for having me. Excited for the conversation we're about to have.
No worries at all. We also have Mia. So Mia's first experience of football was playing with her local boys team before moving on to Yeovil Women's and more recently West Ham. Mia, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm good, thanks. Glad to be here.
And we also have Fergal with us. So Fergal was part of the Norwich City Academy and is now studying sports journalism alongside playing semi-professionally. Fergal, how are you doing?
Yeah, very good. Thank you, Freddie. Thanks for having me.
No worries at all. Mo, would you like to kick things off?
Yeah. So something that I always find interesting as a footballer that always thought he could bang in 50 goals a season, but it never quite worked. And I was always in admiration of those who wanted to play in goal. We've got three goalkeepers with us today. Why be a goalkeeper? That's my starting question.
I feel like that's what everyone always asks. To choose to be a keeper, you must be crazy. But for me, I just feel like it's just a thrill from saving shots, diving in the air and just stopping people from scoring those goals and just making those big top corner saves. That's really what gives me the thrill. That's what I love about the position.
So you love the cameras then, do you? You love the photographers.
Nah, I wouldn't say the photographers, but I just feel I like the look on the strikers or the attacker's face when I've made that save, and they're just like, wow, like, how'd you save that? Yeah, that's what I like.
How about you, Mia? What was your driving force?
I feel like the exclusivity of it, like not everyone can do it. Only takes a certain person. There's a natural talent that you have to have. Not everyone can do it. So I think it's kind of like what Daniel said, that all that other people have of you, it's something that is very rare and unique to like be able to do something like that. So I guess it's just the honour of it, really.
Okay. And Fergal?
Yeah, I could probably only echo what they said. But yeah, for me, it was like when I was growing up playing for Norwich and stuff, you could go out and do small-sided games, or you could do the possessions, and you could, hold your own and be in those with the outfielders. And, most of us, especially in the modern day football, we could, be respected to go out and play on pitch and be okay amongst the group. But you chuck any of those in goal and there's no way they have any clue what they're doing. So, yeah, going back on what Mia said, that kind of, that special position no one else can really do.
So this word special keeps coming about, right? So one more question on this. Over the years, right, there's been some crazy goalkeepers. Goalkeepers do some crazy things. Do you have to be a little bit crazy to be a goalkeeper? Is that a fair analysis?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Or is there a fine line between being brave and being crazy?
I think bravery is a massive part of it. We throw ourselves at a ball that could be moving God knows how fast. Like the amount of times I've been smashed in the face. Yeah, it's not nice, but you just do it because it's for the sake of everyone else. Like in that moment, you don't care about the pain that you could come under. It's because that result of possibly saving it is like the best feeling that, it makes it all worth it, if that makes sense.
Definitely.
If I could jump in as well, would you say that as a result, because I casually play as a goalkeeper too, played as a goalkeeper at university, would you say there's more pressure brought on to you three with your position essentially being the person who's, in front of the goal? It's often said a goalkeeper's error is far more visible than a striker's error. Do you feel that pressure, or do you kind of just take that on your back, and going into any sort of game, you just back yourself that you know that you will be good enough to hold your own?
Yeah, I feel like the pressure is definitely there, because obviously, as you said, like, we're the last line of defence. If like their strikers, the midfielders, defenders make a mistake, there's always someone behind them, but we have no one to obviously back us up. So like in training and stuff, like if we was to give the ball away in the like small-sided game, it most likely ends up in a goal. So obviously that pressure is there, but I feel like that just comes with the position. So I feel like the more you play and the more games you play, the more confident you have in your ability. And at the end of the day, as goalkeepers, for us to like cope with the demands of the job, you need to realise that, listen, that you're going to make those mistakes and you're going to maybe concede because of that, but you just have to keep on going, to be honest.
Yeah, and I think I'd agree. And my nerves were there from under sevens, under eights, from when I started kicking a ball and staying in goal. My nerves have always been there, and they're still there today. Whether I'm playing for Wingate in the non-league, or I'm playing for UEL, or I was playing for Wales, or whatever I was doing, whatever match I was playing, there was always an extreme, for me personally, it was always extreme amount of nerves. So, and then you'd go ask an outfielder, and they'd be like, "No, I'm really excited for the game. They're really excited for the game." And for me personally, I was like, "Oof, yes, I'm excited, but I'm nervous as well. I'm really nervous as well." So, yeah, I don't know if that's what you guys feel as well, but I was always nervous, no matter what.
Yeah, I was definitely like, I think the thing with the keeper is you don't know with a game how much of the ball you're going to see. So an outfielder knows that if they make a mistake, they might be able to rectify that 10 seconds later. But with a keeper, some games you might only touch the ball 10 times. So it's kind of, you want to come away from the game feeling satisfied with what you've done. And if you make one mistake, you don't know if you're going to be able to rectify that in the same game. And you kind of can leave the pitch feeling really like, kind of like with this awkward feeling that you haven't done as well as you could have done. So there's always that nervousness that like, am I going to have a good game today? Because it's either going to be a good game or a bad game. It can't really be in the middle. It's kind of quite extreme.
Yeah, no, definitely. I feel like that's just facts, because especially when I was younger, I feel like as a younger goalkeeper, I found it difficult to obviously control that emotional aspect of obviously that pressure and everything, because back then I used to hate conceding. So whenever I conceded, I used to get like all angry, emotional, because obviously that's your job, to stop them from scoring. But over the years, like, you just have to get used to it and just realize that, cool, you might have made a mistake, you might have conceded, but you just have to keep going on to the next one.
Daniel, would you say you got used to conceding
Yeah,
goals?
definitely. Like, I feel like I've matured, like using like techniques, like working with sports psychologists. So now that if I make a mistake or concede, now I know that, cool, it's not that deep. Like, cool,
Yeah.
just pick myself up, and I use like stuff like just positive self-talk or breathing techniques, which helps.
Yeah. See, for me, whenever I concede a goal, I've probably got about 30 seconds to a minute in me, where you sit there, you almost crouch down, there's someone else getting the ball out the back of your net, and you're just kind of thinking, and you're going over that moment in your head going, what if I just guessed he was going that way? Or what if I took the first phase, or I'd done that differently? So I think even in the game, I don't know, I find it very difficult to stop myself going back and just replaying those goals in my mind.
Yeah,
so I always feel as a goalkeeper, you're your harshest critic, and it's very difficult to get over it.
One thing, if I could ask as well, just quickly, just from my perspective playing in goal, I echo you guys are saying you're a bit nervous. Do you feel that kind of, I don't know, that increase in feeling when you get that first save off? Because I know people often say, oh, when you get that first shot off, when you get that first save off, you change into a different person. Is that still the case when you're playing at the level that you guys have played at?
I think for me, it is personally, like, because I'm so anxious really about how my game's going to go. Like, if I make that first save or I have that first good bit of distribution, my confidence immediately skyrockets. But I've had situations as well where I remember against Chelsea, I had a really bad first half and I was thinking, how am I going to turn this around? Like, I haven't played well. So I thought, the game's done. I'm not going to have a good game today. And then in the second half, I had about 10 minutes where I made like 3 or 4 saves in that space of time. And it completely switched up my entire mentality. Like, I had this boost of confidence all of a sudden. I felt so much happier with my performance. And I had such a better second half that I came off the pitch feeling satisfied still. So I think, yes, it's definitely important at first, but there is always, you can have that sudden like 360-degree turn where the whole game changes within a matter of seconds.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think what we've deduced so far is that we've got 3 crazy athletes who also think very deeply about their craft. So now we know what we're dealing with. I want to move the conversation on, right? So there's so many things that Freddie and I, we've been batting about for the last couple of weeks about what we want to talk to you about, and the list is kind of endless. So, Freddie, do you mind if we go into the whole piece about how our 3 athletes manage being students and also being, hopefully, potentially on, playing football to a high level as well?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, that was one of the main points we were thinking about is that kind of balance between football and education, because obviously we've got the 3 of you here, but as far as we're aware, you guys have had different academy experiences in terms of how football and education have been balanced. For example, I'm presuming Fergal compared to Daniel, for example. Daniel's obviously been learning at UEL with lecturers going to training on the side. I'm presuming, Fergal, you didn't have specific lecturers coming in to teach you whilst you're at the academy?
No. So I left Norwich and I left Norwich at 19, and then I came to UEL that summer, so two months after I left Norwich. So then my training when I went to non-league was Tuesday evenings, Thursday evenings, and then game Saturday. And then uni training was Monday, game Wednesday, Bucks Wednesday, and then training Friday. So I was 50-50 with both, 6 days out of 7.
And Fergal, just to touch on, there's a lot being said about what it takes to be, firstly, an academy footballer, and then especially recently, in the last couple of weeks, there's been loads written about the percentage of footballers that go from academy football, not even to the top end of the game, just to make a living from the game. Can you talk us through your experience of how that was managed from when you first started and you first went into the academy system, and ultimately how it ended and what brought you to UEL?
So yeah, I played for Luton for 2 years, and when I was going to year 9, Norwich brought me from Luton, so year 9. So then I had to leave to go to left my home in East London, moved to Norfolk, had to go to a boarding school for 3 years. And when you're brought as a 13-year-old, a 12-year-old, going on to be 13 in a few months, at that age, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. You kind of feel that as a 12, 13-year-old. Like, I remember going into my secondary school, telling everyone I was leaving, and everyone was like, "Why? What's going on?" Blah blah blah. And you say it's for football, and they're like, "Wow, like it's not really been heard of." Especially where I'm from, especially from around East London, it's unheard of going from here to a boarding school. So yeah, then I got my scholarship. I played for Ireland at under 15s. Went to an England camp at under 16s, and I ended up playing for Wales at under 17s, but playing for their under 19s. And then when you play for 3 international teams, you kind of think to yourself, I'm doing something right here. So I kind of grew into myself and grew into my position and kind of thought, I'm making the right steps. I'm going in the right direction to get that contract or get that next thing and just keep progressing my career. And then when, as fickle as football is, we got a new academy manager in, and then my world got turned upside down, and he just brought in his own players, his own coaches, and
game.
yeah, exactly. And everyone who was there since I was under 13s, 14s, 75% of staff got sacked, and then I was part of the players that got let go, and then that just crushed me. But then I was lucky. So I had Loughborough. I had a few offers professionally, but I just completely fell out of love with football. Then I had Loughborough and UEL, and Loughborough offered a scheme which was similar to the professional game, and I was like, I don't really want this. Well, UEL offered me a pathway to find my love again for football. And that for me was the biggest factor. I can do education and I can play football, but I don't have to play football to the same severity. I can do it on a more casual basis, but on, in competition. So that for me was the best way for me to refine that love, then go into non-league and build my confidence and build myself again.
And now, as we stand, so where are you now? What are you doing now? Are you back in the game? Have you kind of rekindled that love for it?
Yeah, I did. Well, we're lucky at UEL. We have Ryan Gordon, who's the head of football, who was actually my the guy who scouted me from Luton to go to Norwich. So I've known Ryan since I was 13, and he really helped me find that love. So yeah, we've had 2 unfortunate seasons. We would have got promoted last year into the Bucks Prem, but COVID messed us up. We'd won every game, unbeaten. We were literally 1 game away, and they just voided it all. To my absolute, to this day, I cannot believe it. I can't believe it. I don't know why they didn't put us up, but yeah, that's their.
So for a man who's had 3 countries after his services, his biggest regret in football is not getting promoted with UEL. That's just saying about the UEL program, right? UEL program
exactly
must be strong. No, look,
all those clean sheets out the window. You can't get them back.
That's look. I think it's fascinating that for a young man who obviously had so many options in the world at his feet, seemingly, and to have to go through the system like that must have been incredibly tough. And so I kind of want to go on the flip side, I suppose. So we've got the other 2, your colleagues, your peers, Fergal. So Daniel, having heard Fergal's story through where he's come from and where he is now, as someone who's currently in the system, and very similar story in terms of Fergal had kind of three countries after his services, and I believe you've played for Nigeria and played for England. Is that right? Talk us through where you're at and how your experience kind of compares with what Fergal had.
Yeah, so it's very interesting, because he's been through what I'm currently going through now, just obviously through the academy system. That's why I know a little bit about the politics in the game, everything. But yeah, I started, so I got scouted when I was around 12. So when I was playing Sunday League near my local club. So I got scouted by Chelsea when I was around 12. So I went on to do a trial for a couple months, and then had a successful trial, and I signed from there. So I was in the Chelsea academy through the system. So balancing it with education, they made it quite easy. So back then we were doing like a day release program where we'd obviously miss a day of school from our school and then do training. But then on that day we'd have to make sure we get work from our school so we wouldn't fall behind everything. So they just made sure that we were on top of the work, everything. So it was quite a good balance in it with education. So after I left Chelsea, I moved to West Ham, and then so I was at Chelsea for 3 years from the age of 12. So I was during GCSE time. So they quite helped. So when I was doing GCSE, they gave us sessions, so we wouldn't, because obviously we train literally every day, but they made sure that didn't stop us from doing well in our GCSEs. So I was able to achieve quite good grades. So I was able to achieve 6 grade 9s, 2 grade 8s, and 2 A's, 2 B's. So obviously, achieving those grades, I wanted to obviously continue my education. So when I moved to West Ham now, I was pushing the education staff at West Ham just to help me do A-levels. So just so I don't waste my education, to pursue the passion I had for psychology that I found during GCSE. So I ended up being like one of the first like West Ham's academy scholars doing A levels. So me and like 2 other teammates. So I've done A level psychology, and yeah, that's been my journey.
And sorry, Freddie. I know we've got loads to cover. Just want to wrap this one up. And how, Daniel, have you found where you are now? How have you found balancing it? Because I imagine as you're getting older and going through the system and that pressure, like Fergal talked about, to eventually get a contract and be in and around the first team, how are you managing that with balancing now studying for a degree?
Yeah, I feel like it's great. Like, I'm really, really happy that I chose to obviously do, psychology, the psychology degree that I'm doing with UAL, because I feel like it gives me the work-life balance. Because obviously we're always training, we always have that pressure of, obviously, especially being a goalkeeper, where we maybe in training we might have a bad session and it's just on our mind. Like, but doing the psychology degree, it gives me something to obviously. Something else to think about. So when I get home, I can focus on doing my assignments, something else, instead of like coming home and just thinking about like maybe my mistakes in training, my mistakes in games. So it allows me to focus on something else, and like it opens me up to obviously the wider world, because I feel like being in the academy system, it can be like such a bubble. Like, we don't really know anything about the outside world, and that's why like people struggle to make something out of themselves once they obviously get released. So obviously that's what pushed me that inspired me to create the YouTube channel and my podcast, just to obviously highlight that it's possible to be successful in both education and sports. So yeah.
So that's just Daniel giving himself a cheeky plug for his social media channels there, which we didn't do.
We've already done it on East London Sport. You can have a second one too.
And finally, Mia and Freddie, just going to just finish this off. Mia, I want to come at it from a different angle for you. So obviously the 2 boys, Norwich and West Ham and Chelsea before, and Luton, and the men's game is established. It's the biggest game on the planet. How was it, or has it been for you, being part of the women's game, which is it's growing all the time? How has your experience been in comparison to what the 2 journeys we've just heard, given that the sport doesn't have the same resources, the same exposure, but does it have the same pressure?
I think, for starters, the main difference is I didn't get into a proper academy until I was 16, when that, like, a proper academy system, whereas obviously the boys mentioned they were there from very young ages. I was in boys teams at 12, 11, because there was no girls teams around my area that I could play for. So I played for my local boys team in a boys league. I was there was only one other girl in the league, who funnily enough plays with me at West Ham now. But it's very different. Like, the way it's progressed, I've kind of progressed with it. Like, it's almost I've been part of the change. And Yeovil was my first academy at 16 when I went to college, and I moved out to college in Bridgewater because they had like a partnership. So education wise, they were very good. We basically trained around our schedule. We didn't miss any lessons. Wednesdays, which were our game days, were off from school. So I never had a problem with balancing education and football. It was only when I then moved to West Ham when I was 17, and that was at the beginning of my second year of college. So I had to move to London, but do the remaining year of my BTEC online, which was quite a big change. But again, my college were really amazing with just supporting me and ensuring that I had the resources to still do it online. And then obviously West Ham as well were there to support if I needed it. But to be honest, it was never too stressful. I think doing a BTEC really helped instead of an A-level, because A-levels were quite stressful. But I think in terms of the pressure, I would happily admit that the men's game is way more competitive than the women's. I think it's developing. Obviously, it's getting more competitive. There's a lot more young goalkeepers my age coming up now that are looking really, really good. but yeah, I guess the journey might have been just a little bit easier. Like obviously being the girl in my area, the actual like a goalkeeper, a girl, I was kind of a bit of a, not a phenomenal, it was a bit weird.
Were you like a bit of a celebrity on on the local junior circuit? Oh, we're playing that team this week that's got the girl goalkeeper and she's amazing. Were you that kind of that person?
I remember I always had like parents come up to me at the end of the games like, like you're really good, and probably quite weird to see because I had these little sports glasses as well, this really blonde hair. Like I was just quite a weird character. And yeah, I was, like I said, there was only one other girl in the league. She was a winger. So it was definitely a bit of a weird thing to see at the time. And then I joined a proper girls team. I can't remember the ages now. I think I was 12 when I finished with boys. And I was there for a good 4 or 5 years. And then I went on to Yeovil. But that girls team I was at before was just a normal grassroots team, a very good level, like very good players there. But the kind of, with the women's game, it's like you played for county and then you played for the southwest of England and then you'd look to play for England. So the journey to like establish yourself as a big player wasn't through clubs, it was through county association. So I played for Dorset and I played for the southwest, and then I was on standby a couple of times for England, and then I was noticed by Wales under 19s when I was 16. So that's when I first got onto the international stage. But yeah, my journey's been very different to, I think, the average kind of boys academy journey, because academies for girls just haven't been around that long.
Wow. Fascinating. I mean, what I've also realised is we've got 3 very well-travelled crazy goalkeepers who must have a lot of team clothing in their cupboards at home as well, which I always find interesting. Sorry, Freddie, that's it from me. Where are we going next? I know we've got loads we want to ask the guys.
Yeah. So I feel like one thing I've definitely got written down is I think all 3 of you have mentioned some sort of a challenge which you guys have faced when you've been coming through your footballing career. What examples can you give, and kind of like what like, I don't know, promoted you to jump over them? This is out to the table. I'd just be intrigued to hear.
So me personally, I feel like maybe the big hurdle, maybe getting injured. So I tore my MCL when I was a first year scholar at West Ham. So that was my first big injury, and it was literally like I think it was 2 days before the FA Youth Cup, which I was going to play in. So yeah, that was really, really tough for me because yeah, it was literally what it made me miss out a lot. Made me miss out on a lot of opportunities. I was out for like 4 months, so I missed out playing Youth Cup, missed out playing a lot of games for my for under 18s, missed out potentially playing for Ireland in the Euros. So yeah, that was quite a big hurdle, and what helped me overcome it, to be honest, was just maybe just the help and support from my family, support from the club, and I feel like during that period, especially, that having something else, so having my education, my A-level psychology, which I was doing on the side, so I feel like that gave me the balance, gave me something else to think about when I got home after my rehab and everything. So I wasn't really coming home and going mad, just deep in my injury, deep in all the opportunities that I missed. So I feel like, yeah, that kept me going.
What about you two, Fergal, Mia? Whether that's injuries or anything else?
Yeah, I think mine, a bit different from you guys, is leaving the professional game entirely. I think that was the hardest hurdle any young footballer could face in the game. But for me, like, being straight about it, the 2 things that got me over it was my family and friends and UEL. I think UEL gave me the opportunity to love football and give me another pathway in life where I've met some brilliant people, got my love back for football, and met some great people and got a really good education. So yeah, it's done everything that I wanted it to do, UEL. So I've got to thank everyone there.
Mia?
Yeah, I think with me it might come I was a little bit younger, playing with boys, just like getting through that period, because I had a lot of times where we'd be at tournaments and I'd have boys behind my goal like laughing at me, like, oh, they've got the girl in goal, like of course they've got the girl in goal kind of thing. So it was just like trying not to get scared by that and being like, oh no, I don't like this, I don't want to play anymore. Because I just remember thinking, well, I know that I'm good and I know that I'm probably better than half of them, so let's just prove it. And I don't know what they're all doing now, but I wouldn't think that they're in the same position as me. So it's just
I love that, Mia.
Yeah. Well,
that's the attitude. Yeah, that
it's just, you got to kind of use it as a motivation to like say, well, screw you, I'm just gonna go and play for a Premier League club then. That's fine.
Okay. That's the level.
Yeah, that's just, you got to use it. You got to use it. Can't let you like get bogged down by it or feel sorry for yourself. So just getting through that period, I guess, was a big moment for me, because I think I could have easily just said to my mum and dad, I don't want to do it anymore.
And so I feel like a natural tangent from that. We've got about 5 minutes to go. I feel like building on, especially what Mia's just said. What advice would you give to a young boy or a young girl who's either starting the journey you're going on or starting their own sporting journey, whether that's football, could be rugby, whatever the sport? What would you tell them for them to bear in mind for what's coming ahead?
I would say, I feel like just keep going, just keep working hard, keep going. I feel like there's going to be a lot of setbacks, a lot of things that in football there can be. Sometimes you might work so hard and it might not be out of your control, but if you keep working hard and you keep putting in the work, then the world's your oyster and you can actually succeed in the game. Also, it's important to obviously put everything into football, but I feel like it's important to obviously focus on the education as well, because it's important that you need to have an identity beyond the game, beyond the sport that you play. So yeah, that's a little bit from me. Yeah.
I think the advice I'd give is don't fear exploiting your weaknesses. And what I mean by that is don't do things that you're comfortable with. Go out there and exploit the things that you're not so good at, because that's the only way you're going to get better at them. Like, I think we've all been in situations where as footballers, we take an easy route and we think, oh, I'll do this pass with my right foot and I go around the ball and I play with my right foot when I can, do it with my left or my weaker foot, whatever anyone's weaker foot is. And that's the thing that I think a lot of people get stuck on. They have this ego where they think, oh, I'm going to make everything perfect because I don't want to get in trouble by somebody watching me or my teammate or my girlfriend, my friend, my boyfriend, whatever. So don't do the hard thing. And that's where they get stuck at a standstill.
I would say just there's always going to be people that are going to doubt you. I think from a girl's perspective as well, possibly laugh at you. I think now there's a lot more young girls teams around, so there wouldn't be as many playing in the boys game. But there's always going to be people that are going to question your intentions with, oh, like, you don't want to go professional, like, surely not. There's no way you're going to be able to do it. There's no way you're going to be able to support yourself. But it's like, don't let that stop you. Just go until you can't go anymore. Just don't let stupid little things like other people's opinions stop you from enjoying the thing that you love to do. And you never know, it could one day take you to making a living off it. Like, don't set a limit because of other people's opinions, if that makes sense.
Oh, that's great. Mo, do you have anything that you'd like to ask in the remaining couple of minutes?
No, I think it's been fascinating listening to the goalkeepers union. I love that phrase. I suppose my final question to the guys would be, if I'm looking for a one-word answer, right? So the question is, if you could sum up your journey to date, education, experience, your education, your football, your life, and everything, and sum it all up, and that this word has to resonate with the next generations, for those youngsters who, I know, because you're all young yourself still, for the youngsters that are following behind you, what would that one word be? It doesn't have to be one word. I'm just looking for a very short and quick answer. I'm going to put Daniel on the spot.
Persevere. Something like that.
Mia?
Unique.
Unique.
I'll go for a phrase. It's a journey unlike no other.
Very good.
Ah.
Very good. No, I think that it's been fascinating. I think there were so many things that we wanted to talk about, but I think the direction of where you guys have taken us has been incredibly rich and insightful. Yeah. So I guess for me, it's yeah. Thank you so much for your time and giving us that insight. Really.
Yeah. So just about to wrap things up, I think I should echo what Mo's just said. It has been great having the three of you come and give us your time. Obviously, very busy people. And so, yeah, just a reminder, we've had Daniel, we've had Mia, we've had Fergal here speaking about their experiences for our podcast. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks, everyone.
And that'll be that from me and Mo. Feel free to tune in next time, whenever that will be. Feel free to provide feedback too. We're looking forward to doing something similar to this very soon.
Take care, everyone. Thanks for listening.